When the world finally becomes quiet and the distractions of the day fall away, the truth you tried to outrun begins to rise inside your chest. Loving someone who doesn't love you back still hurts your heart at night, no matter how strong you pretended to be during the daylight. So breathe with me now, slowly, gently. Let your inhale loosen the tightness that has been living beneath your ribs, and let your exhale soften the place inside you that has been carrying more than it was ever meant to hold. You are safe here. You are allowed to feel exactly what you feel without hiding, without minimizing, without apologizing. Unrequited love is one of the quietest forms of heartbreak, and one of the deepest, because it leaves you mourning something that never fully existed outside your imagination. You loved someone who could not meet you where your heart stood waiting, and your body still feels the echo of that longing. It doesn't matter how logical you are. It doesn't matter how clearly you understand the truth. The body remembers the hope. The body remembers the anticipation. The body remembers the softness you felt when you pictured a future that never came true. That is why the pain intensifies at night. The darkness removes the noise. The silence reveals the ache. Take another breath and let the truth settle. There is nothing wrong with you for loving someone who couldn't love you back. It is not a flaw. It is not a failure. It is not a sign that you are unworthy. It simply means your heart opened in a direction that life did not support. Loving without being loved in return creates a unique ache, an ache that comes from holding emotions with no place to go. Your heart grew full, but the connection remained hollow. You reached out, but the space between you stayed unchanged. And yet your body still reacts as if the bond were real, because the feelings were real for you. The longing was real. The imagination was real. The emotional investment was real. When you cared for someone deeply, your nervous system adapted to that hope, even if the relationship never fully formed. So when the truth finally settles, that they cannot love you the way you love them, the body experiences loss even though nothing officially ended. This is why your chest tightens at night. This is why the sadness feels heavy even though you should be fine. This is why your thoughts return to them when the world becomes still. You are grieving a future that only you could see. Grieving is not a mistake. It is the heart's way of rewriting itself. Let your breath slow down and drift deeper into your belly. Feel the air pressing gently into the spaces where disappointment has been sitting like a quiet weight. You don't need to force yourself to move on. Moving on is not a decision, it is a process. And tonight, the process begins with honesty, not with trying to forget, not with blaming yourself, but with acknowledging the truth your heart has been holding. You cared for someone who could not care for you in the same way, and that hurts. It hurts because your heart is sincere. It hurts because your love is real. It hurts because your tenderness is not something you can switch off just because it was not returned. You did nothing wrong by feeling deeply, so let yourself breathe through the ache instead of pushing it away. Imagine your breath softening the longing that still clings to the edges of your thoughts. Imagine it loosening the expectations you once held. Imagine it calming the parts of you that still believe that if you were different, better, more attractive, more interesting, more perfect, they would have chosen you. They didn't choose you not because you were lacking, but because their heart was not aligned with yours. Love cannot be forced. Interest cannot be manufactured. Connection cannot be negotiated. And your worth does not decrease simply because someone could not see it. If anything, the pain you feel now is proof of your capacity to love. not weakly, but wholeheartedly. Let that sink into your body. Let that truth remind you that your heart is not broken. It is simply stretching, adjusting to a reality that did not match the dream you once held. Acknowledge the longing without feeding it. Acknowledge the sadness without drowning in it. Acknowledge the fantasy without confusing it for truth. You are not meant to shrink because someone could not meet you. You are meant to expand beyond this moment. With every breath, imagine reclaiming a piece of yourself that you gave away in silence. With every exhale, imagine returning your emotional energy back into your own body. You cannot lose what was never yours. You cannot fix what was never broken. And you cannot force someone to love you in a way they are incapable of loving. Let the night wrap around you like a soft blanket. Let your breath settle into a rhythm that reminds your body, I am safe. I am enough. I am allowed to let go. One day, the longing will fade into memory. One day, the space they occupy in your mind will grow smaller. One day, the sadness will soften into something that no longer stings. You will not always feel this ache, but tonight, allow it to exist long enough to loosen its hold. Love that is not returned can still teach you something profound. Your heart is capable of depth, even when life does not give it a place to land. That depth will matter one day. It will mean something. It will lead you somewhere. For now, breathe. You are healing every time you choose to stay present instead of collapsing into longing. You are healing every time you acknowledge the truth instead of chasing the fantasy. You are healing every time your heart beats without trying to prove your worth to someone who could not recognize it. This pain is not permanent. It is simply part of your becoming. Rest now. Your heart is learning to love again, this time in a direction where the love will finally return to you. When you lie awake wondering why your heart still aches for someone who never chose you, remember this. Unreturned love does not disappear quickly because the emotion never had the chance to complete its cycle. It had a beginning, it had growth, it had longing, but it never had closure. The story stayed suspended, and suspended emotions have nowhere to go except inward. They settle into your breath, into the muscles around your ribs, into the quiet corners of your mind where hope once lived. This is why nighttime feels heavier. Night removes the noise that distracts you. It uncovers the truth beneath the surface. It reveals the attachment that was never reciprocated but still shaped your inner world. Breathe slowly and let your body hear what your mind already knows. Your worth was never dependent on being chosen by the person you loved. Unreturned love often makes you feel invisible, as if your emotions were too much or not enough, as if something about you was inherently unlovable. But these thoughts come from longing, not from truth. The truth is simpler, quieter, less dramatic. Their heart was not aligned with yours. Not because yours lacked anything, but because connection is something that lives outside of logic. You cannot earn it. You cannot negotiate it. You cannot fix it. You can only offer yourself honestly and let life reveal what is meant for you. Sit with that truth for a moment. Feel how it softens the self-blame. Feel how it releases the narrative that you were rejected because of some flaw. You were not rejected. You were simply not met. And that difference matters. Take a deeper breath. Let your jaw loosen. Let your shoulders drop. Imagine the longing melting just enough for you to feel the ground beneath you again. You are not meant to chase what is running in the opposite direction. You are meant to move toward what moves toward you. Still, your heart hurts because it invested in a story that stayed one-sided. One-sided love is painful because your emotional world kept expanding while theirs remained still. It's like giving warmth into a space that never returned the heat. A slow, invisible drain of energy. And yet, your heart continues to feel because your emotional rhythm doesn't adjust instantly when life does. Be patient with yourself. Be tender. This ache is not foolish, it is human. The fact that your love wasn't returned does not make it meaningless. It means your heart was open. It means your capacity to feel is vast. It means you held something beautiful even if it was never held back. Imagine now that your breath is gathering the pieces of yourself you placed into that unreciprocated hope. With every inhale, draw your energy inward. With every exhale, release the fantasy that kept you waiting. Not in anger, not in bitterness, but in truth. The truth that your love deserves movement in both directions. You deserve someone who reaches back. Someone who chooses you without hesitation. Someone whose presence feels like steadiness instead of longing. You may not see that person yet, but the space you create by releasing unreturned love becomes the doorway through which the right connection will eventually walk. The ache you feel tonight is part of clearing that doorway. Sit with that thought. Let it settle. Let it remind you that this moment is not an ending. It is preparation. You are not being punished by this pain. You are being shaped by it. Your heart is learning discernment, learning boundaries, learning how to hold itself without collapsing into fantasy. Sometimes love teaches you through fulfillment. Sometimes it teaches you through absence. Tonight, it is teaching you through absence. And even though that lesson feels sharp, it is guiding you toward something fuller, something mutual, something that mirrors the depth you carry. Take another breath, slower this time. Imagine your exhale carrying away the heaviness left from waiting for someone who never arrived emotionally. Imagine your body realizing that it no longer needs to stretch itself toward someone who never reached back. You are enough without convincing anyone. You are worthy without being chosen by them. You are whole even when the love you felt remained unanswered. The ache will not last forever. Slowly, gently, it will dissolve as you reclaim yourself. And one night, you will lie down and notice that your breath moves freely again, that your chest feels lighter, that your thoughts no longer circle around someone who could not hold your heart. This is the direction you are moving toward, even now, even if it feels impossible to believe. You are not losing love. You are releasing what could never grow. And in that release, you are making space for what can. Rest in this truth. Let the night cradle you. Let your breath return you to yourself. Your heart is healing, and healing always begins in the dark. Quietly, gently, before the dawn arrives.